The air was thick with tension as I descended the creaky wooden stairs into the dimly lit basement of our old Victorian house. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest, echoing the nervous anticipation that had been building inside me for days. It all began with a dream, a recurring nightmare that seemed to draw me closer to the basement with each passing night. In the dream, I found myself standing in front of a wall covered in peeling wallpaper. It was the same wall that separated our basement from the rest of the house. But in the dream, there was a door that shouldn't exist. It was made of old, weathered wood, and its surface was covered in strange, runic symbols. Every night, I would reach out and touch those symbols, and every night, they would glow with an eerie greenish light. The dream had become an obsession, and I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something waiting for me behind that door. My wife, Emily, thought I was losing my mind. She begged me to forget about it, to seek therapy or take medication, but I couldn't. The dream had taken hold of me, and I needed to know what lay behind that door. The basement smelled of dampness and decay as I reached the bottom of the stairs. The flickering light bulb overhead cast long, ominous shadows across the room, making it feel even more foreboding. The basement was cluttered with boxes and old furniture, relics of previous homeowners who had long since moved on. I approached the wall that separated me from the door of my dreams. The wallpaper was peeling just as it had been in the dream, and my fingers trembled as I reached out to touch it. As my fingertips brushed the rough surface, a chill ran down my spine, and the symbols on the door began to glow. My heart raced, and I knew there was no turning back. I pressed my palm against the door, and it swung open with an eerie creaking sound. Before me lay a corridor, bathed in an otherworldly blue light. The air felt heavy, like it was charged with electricity, and I hesitated for a moment before stepping through the doorway. The corridor stretched out endlessly in both directions, disappearing into an infinite abyss. I took a deep breath and chose a direction at random, my footsteps echoing in the strange, empty space. As I walked, I realized that the walls of the corridor were not solid. They seemed to shift and ripple, as if they were made of some fluid, ever-changing substance. I walked for what felt like hours, the oppressive silence broken only by the sound of my own breathing. I had no idea where I was going or what I was looking for, but I couldn't stop. I felt like I was being pulled deeper and deeper into this strange, surreal world. Suddenly, I heard a faint whispering, like voices carried on the wind. I followed the sound, my heart pounding in my chest. As I turned a corner, I saw it. A group of figures standing in a circle, their backs to me. They were chanting in a language I didn't understand, their voices echoing through the corridor. I approached the circle cautiously, my curiosity outweighing my fear. The figures were cloaked in tattered robes, and their hoods obscured their faces. I couldn't see who or what they were, but something told me that I needed to find out. As I got closer, the chanting grew louder and more frenzied. The words seemed to vibrate in the air, sending shivers down my spine. I could feel the power of their incantations, and it filled me with a sense of dread. One of the figures, taller than the others, stepped forward and turned to face me. Its hood fell back, revealing a face that was both human and not. Its eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and its skin had an otherworldly pallor. "You shouldn't be here," it hissed, its voice a cold, rasping whisper that sent chills down my spine. I tried to speak, to ask who they were and where I was, but my voice caught in my throat. The figures continued their chant, their words growing more urgent. I felt a pressure building in the air, like the world itself was about to tear apart. With a sudden, explosive burst of energy, the figures raised their arms, and the corridor around me began to shift and contort. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist, and I was overcome with a sense of disorientation and terror. I stumbled backward, trying to escape the nightmarish scene unfolding before me. But the figure's power was too great, and I was drawn inexorably into the maelstrom they had created. The world around me fractured and shattered, and I was plunged into darkness. When I awoke, I was no longer in the basement, nor in the corridor of shifting walls. I was in a place that defied all description, a surreal, nightmarish landscape that seemed to exist outside of time and space. The sky above was a sickly shade of green, and the ground beneath me was a shifting, pulsating mass of flesh and bone. Twisted trees with blood-red leaves sprouted from the ground, and the air was filled with a cacophony of unearthly sounds. I tried to stand, but my legs gave way beneath me, and I fell to the ground. I was weak, disoriented, and overwhelmed by the sheer wrongness of this place. As I lay there, a shadowy figure emerged from the grotesque landscape. It moved with a slow, deliberate grace, its form shifting and changing with every step. It was a creature of nightmare, and I could barely comprehend its existence. It approached me, its eyes fixed on mine, and I felt a paralyzing terror grip my heart. This was not a dream. This was a waking nightmare, and there was no escape. The creature spoke, its voice a guttural, incomprehensible language that grated on my ears. It reached out a twisted, clawed hand towards me, and I recoiled in horror. But then, to my surprise, it seemed to change its mind. It withdrew its hand and took a step back, its eyes narrowing as it studied me. "You are not one of us," it hissed in a voice that was both menacing and curious. "You do not belong here." I found my voice at last, though it trembled as I spoke. "Where am I? Who are you?" The creature's form shifted and changed, as if it were trying to take on a more human appearance. It was a futile effort, and the result was a grotesque parody of humanity. "We are the dweller of the abyss," it said, its voice taking on a semblance of human speech. "This is the void, a place beyond your comprehension. You have entered our domain, and now you must pay the price." I felt a sinking dread in the pit of my stomach. "What price? What do you want from me?" The dweller of the abyss let out a sound that might have been a laugh, though it was a sound devoid of humor or warmth. "You have trespassed in our world, and now you are bound to it. You will serve as our vessel, our conduit to your world." I struggled to understand. "You mean you want to use me to come to my world?" The creature nodded, its eyes gleaming with malevolent intent. "Yes, your world is ripe for our influence. We will spread through your realm like a plague, and you will be our harbinger." I knew I had to find a way out of this nightmare, but I was trapped, powerless to escape. The dweller of the abyss loomed over me, and I could feel its presence seeping into my very soul, like a dark stain that could never be washed away. Days turned into weeks, or perhaps it was even longer in the timeless, nightmarish realm of the abyss. I became a prisoner in my own body, a vessel for the dweller's dark ambitions. Its influence grew stronger with each passing day, and I could feel myself slipping further and further into darkness. The dweller's voice echoed in my mind, a constant, maddening whisper that never ceased. It urged me to embrace its power, to become its willing servant, but I resisted, holding onto a sliver of my humanity that had not yet been extinguished. One day, as I wandered the twisted landscape of the abyss, I stumbled upon a group of otherworldly beings, much like the dweller. They were engaged in a ritual, similar to the one I had witnessed in the corridor. The air crackled with dark energy, and I realized that they were preparing to open a portal to my world. I knew I had to stop them, to prevent the dweller and its kind from spilling into my world and wreaking havoc. With every ounce of strength I had left, I confronted the beings, trying to disrupt their ritual. The battle that ensued was unlike anything I had ever experienced. The creatures were powerful and relentless, but I fought with a desperation born of fear and determination. I knew that if I failed, there would be no hope for my world. As the battle raged on, the sky above us began to churn and twist, and the very fabric of the abyss seemed to unravel. Reality itself was in flux, and I knew that the outcome of this confrontation would determine the fate of both worlds. With a final desperate surge of energy, I managed to disrupt the ritual, sending the beings reeling back in defeat. The portal to my world collapsed in on itself, sealing them away from our reality. But the victory came at a great cost. I was left battered and broken, my connection to the abyss severed. I had no way of knowing whether the dweller still lurked within me, waiting for another opportunity to escape. I knew that I could never return to my old life, to the house with the hidden door in the basement. The nightmares had become all too real, and I had been forever changed by my journey into the abyss. I wandered through the desolate, surreal landscape of the abyss, searching for some way to escape, to find a path back to my own world. The realm had been irrevocably altered by the disruption of the ritual, and the once stable corridors had become a shifting, chaotic labyrinth. Time lost all meaning as I traversed the nightmarish terrain. I encountered other lost souls, beings like me who had been ensnared by the dweller of the abyss. Some had given in to the darkness and now served as its minions, while others fought to retain their humanity, much like I had. Together, we formed a ragtag group of survivors, united by a common goal, to find a way out of the abyss and back to our own world. We faced countless horrors as we journeyed deeper into the heart of this nightmarish realm, battling the dweller's minions and navigating the ever-shifting landscape. In the depths of the abyss, we discovered ancient, forgotten relics and forbidden knowledge that hinted at the true nature of our predicament. The dweller of the abyss was a cosmic entity, a malevolent force that sought to spread its influence to other realms and dimensions. It fed on the fear and despair of those it ensnared, growing stronger with each new victim. We realized that the only way to escape the abyss was to confront the dweller itself and put an end to its reign of terror. It would be a perilous journey fraught with danger and uncertainty, but we had no other choice. As we pressed on, our group grew in strength and determination. We honed our skills, learned to harness the strange powers of the abyss, and forged bonds of camaraderie born of shared suffering. We were no longer mere victims. We were warriors, determined to free ourselves from the dweller's grip. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, we reached the heart of the abyss, a nightmarish citadel that loomed like a grotesque monument to the dweller's power. The air was thick with an oppressive aura, and the very walls of the citadel seemed to writhe and pulse with malevolence. We knew that the final battle was upon us. The dweller of the abyss awaited us within, its dark presence casting a pall over the entire citadel. As we entered the nightmarish structure, we were confronted by a labyrinthine maze of twisting corridors and surreal chambers. The dweller's minions descended upon us, their grotesque forms converging from all directions. We fought with everything we had, our determination unwavering. The battle was fierce, and the odds seemed insurmountable, but we could not falter. The fate of our world depended on our success. As we advanced deeper into the citadel, the very fabric of reality began to unravel. The walls shifted and contorted, and we found ourselves in a nightmarish maze of distorted space and time. The dweller's power was overwhelming, and it seemed as though the very essence of the abyss conspired against us. At last, we reached the heart of the citadel, a chamber bathed in an otherworldly, sickly green light. There, amidst a swirling maelstrom of dark energy, stood the dweller of the abyss, its form ever-changing and grotesque. With a final, desperate surge of strength, we launched our assault on the dweller. It fought back with a ferocity that defied description, its dark power lashing out in a chaotic frenzy. But we were relentless, and we channeled the strange abilities we had acquired in the abyss to weaken it. In the end, it was a battle of wills, a battle for the very soul of the abyss. With a triumphant roar, we overcame the dweller's resistance and unleashed a surge of energy that consumed it, banishing it from the realm it had terrorized for so long. As the dweller of the abyss was vanquished, the citadel crumbled around us, and we were cast back into the shifting corridors of the abyss. But this time, the realm seemed different, more stable, as if it had been freed from the dweller's influence. With a sense of hope and determination, we continued to navigate the labyrinthine corridors, searching for a way back to our own world. The journey was arduous, but we were no longer alone. We were a group of survivors, bound together by our shared ordeal, and we would not rest until we found a way home. And so, our journey through the abyss continued, filled with uncertainty and danger, but also with the hope that we would one day emerge from the nightmarish realm and return to the world we had left behind. The labyrinthine corridors of the abyss continued to twist and turn, but with the dweller of the abyss vanquished, the realm seemed to lose some of its malevolence. We pressed on, guided by a glimmer of hope that we might find a way back to our own world. Our group had grown closer through our shared trials, and we relied on each other for strength and support. We had discovered that the strange powers we had acquired in the abyss could be used to navigate the shifting terrain, and we learned to manipulate the very fabric of this nightmarish realm. As we ventured deeper into the abyss, we encountered other lost souls, much like ourselves. Some were still under the dweller's influence, while others had managed to resist its call. We offered our help to those who needed it, determined to save as many as we could from the horrors of this place. In our travels, we stumbled upon ancient relics and hidden knowledge that hinted at the existence of a portal, a way out of the abyss. It was said to be a gateway between dimensions, a passage that could transport us back to our own world. With newfound purpose, we set out to find this portal and escape the nightmare that had consumed us. The journey was treacherous, filled with traps and trials set by the dweller's remaining minions. But we were determined, and we pressed forward, using our growing mastery of the abyss's twisted rules to overcome the obstacles in our path. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, we stood before the fabled portal, a shimmering, ethereal gateway that seemed to pulse with the promise of escape. The air around it crackled with energy, and we knew that this was our chance to return home. But the portal was not unguarded. The dweller's last, desperate servant emerged from the shadows, a nightmarish amalgamation of flesh and bone, its eyes filled with a madness that mirrored the realm it inhabited. With our combined strength and newfound abilities, we faced the servant in a final, epic battle. The clash of power and wills raged on, the very fate of our escape hanging in the balance. As we fought, the portal's energy grew unstable, threatening to collapse and seal us forever within the abyss. The stakes had never been higher, and we knew that failure was not an option. With a final, coordinated effort, we overcame the dweller's last servant, banishing it back into the nightmarish realm from whence it came. With the creature defeated, the portal stabilized, its energy surging with renewed power. We had done it. We had triumphed over the dweller of the abyss and its malevolent influence. The way home was now open to us, and we wasted no time in stepping through the portal, leaving behind the surreal, nightmarish realm that had consumed us for so long. The transition through the portal was disorienting, like being caught in a whirlwind of swirling colors and shades. We emerged on the other side with a sense of relief and disbelief, standing in a place that was both familiar and alien. We had returned to our own world, but it had been forever changed by our absence. Time had passed differently in the abyss, and years had gone by in the blink of an eye. The world had moved on without us, and we were faced with the daunting task of rebuilding our lives. We parted ways, each of us carrying the scars and memories of our harrowing journey. But we were not alone. We had formed a bond, a brotherhood born of shared suffering, and we vowed to stay in touch, to support each other as we reacclimated to the world we had left behind. As for the old Victorian house with the hidden door in the basement, I could never bring myself to return. The nightmares that had led me to the basement had left a lasting mark, and the memories of the dweller of the abyss haunted my every thought. I sold the house and moved on with my life, but I could never truly escape the horrors of the abyss. They lingered in the recesses of my mind, a constant reminder of the price I had paid for my curiosity. In the end, the dweller of the abyss had been defeated, and the nightmarish realm it ruled had been sealed away. But the scars it had left behind were a reminder of the thin boundary between our world and the horrors that lurked just beyond. As I moved forward, I couldn't help but wonder if there were other hidden doors, other portals to dark dimensions waiting to be discovered. The world was a vast and mysterious place, and the unknown beckoned with a seductive allure. But I had learned the hard way that some secrets were best left undiscovered, and some doors were better left unopened. The horrors of the abyss would forever serve as a warning, a testament to the price of curiosity and the darkness that could lurk in the hidden corners of our world. Years passed, and I tried my best to put the horrors of the abyss behind me. Life moved on, and I settled into a new home, far removed from the Victorian house that had once held the hidden door to that nightmarish realm. I even managed to find some semblance of peace, though the memories still haunted my dreams. But the scars, both physical and mental, were a constant reminder of what I had endured. I knew that I could never truly escape the shadow of the abyss, and I remained vigilant, always on guard against any signs of its influence in my life. I kept in touch with the survivors from the abyss, my fellow travelers who had shared in the horrors of that otherworldly realm. We met occasionally, sharing our experiences and providing each other with the support and understanding that only those who had been through such an ordeal could offer. Over time, I became obsessed with the idea of preventing others from stumbling upon hidden doors that led to the abyss. I conducted research, delving into the mysteries of the supernatural and the occult. I sought out knowledge that would enable me to identify and seal these malevolent portals, to protect others from the same fate that had befallen me. It was during one of my research expeditions that I discovered a dark and ancient text, a grimoire filled with forbidden knowledge about the dweller of the abyss and its ilk. The book contained incantations and rituals that could be used to detect and seal the hidden doors to other dimensions. Armed with this newfound knowledge, I embarked on a mission to seek out and close these dangerous portals. It was a perilous journey, filled with encounters with otherworldly entities and close brushes with the supernatural. But I was driven by a sense of duty, a desire to prevent others from suffering the same horrors that I had endured. With the help of my fellow survivors, we formed a clandestine group dedicated to safeguarding our world from the malevolent forces that lurked in the shadows. We became known as the Guardians of the Veil, tasked with protecting the fragile barrier between our world and the nightmarish realms that lay beyond. We scoured the globe, tracking down hidden doors and sealing them with the ancient rituals we had discovered. It was dangerous work, and the cost was high, but we knew that it was a battle that had to be fought. As the years went by, the Guardians of the Veil grew in numbers and influence. We became a beacon of hope for those who had encountered the supernatural and sought help. Our mission was clear: to protect our world from the horrors of the abyss and to ensure that hidden doors remained sealed and forgotten. Though the scars of the past would never truly fade, I found solace in the knowledge that I was making a difference, that I was preventing others from falling victim to the dweller of the abyss and the nightmarish dimensions it sought to unleash. And so, my life took on a new purpose, a mission to protect the unsuspecting from the malevolent forces that lurked in the hidden corners of our world. The nightmares of the abyss were a part of my past, but I was determined to ensure that they would never be a part of anyone else's future.